Really good question. And in Chinese medicine and in the way that we teach, everything is connected, right? If you have dried, cracked heels, that's a sign of liver damage, or that your liver isn't functioning properly. If you're waking up, say at 2 o'clock, 2:30 every single night, that's another sign that your adrenals aren't working correctly, because they're pumping out cortisol, which is waking you up. So they're kind of on the opposite ends of the circadian rhythm. When you should be asleep, they're telling you to wake up. And there's so many other muscles inside our body that we create and hold on to stress and trauma. But you might have gone through some sort of trauma that's made you real sick to your stomach. You're really anxious, nervous, and your stomach's just knotted. And then all of a sudden now, this is when you have food sensitivities. Now all of a sudden, this is where you're starting to have cramps, regardless of your time of the month. So all different organs kind of show up in different ways. But Chinese medicine's great, but I also teach and love the Ayurvedic philosophies and principles. And they kind of have 3 different body types: the Vata, the Pitta, and the Kapha body type. And those different doshas, or body types as they are called, you're going to be predominantly one of those 3. And so that's going to show you whether you are going to respond better to herbs that have some heat, like ginger and turmeric, or do you need more cooling herbs like garlic? And so if you're having some stomach issues, that's going to help to kind of narrow that in. So there's those three doshas or 3 bodies. But otherwise, Alex, because you're not on the call as well, I'll leave you with this one as well. Have a look at bromine. It's another herb similar to ashwagandha, but also really helps the Vata body type deal with a lot of the neurotransmissions of settling anxiety, settling trauma, settling ADHD, and nervousness and tension inside the body. So check out bromine. You can just mix that up in a tea, and that's going to be really good, especially if you have the Vata body type in Ayurvedic medicine.
And one thing I would just add that just came to me, I would say one thing that would be of benefit as well is to uncovering that trauma and going a little bit deeper and really doing you could do inner child work, shadow work, some sort of internal work around that trauma to kind of dissolve it. Obviously the herbs are a great additive or bonus, but I wouldn't think you could just sip a tea and be like, oh, I'm healed of my trauma.
Who here's done breath work? Who here's heard of breath work, right? You're probably thinking, Mac, I'm breathing right now. But there's different types of breathing techniques. And breath work is an incredible way of stirring up all of your suppressed emotions. It really gets your stomach and your diaphragm and your lungs and your heart moving. You can also start to breathe into your sex organs to heal any sexual trauma as well. It's absolutely incredible at what it can do. The power of breath. It's like psychedelics. Psychedelics are an incredible healing medicine when used correctly. And I'm a big fan of psychedelics. I'm also a very big fan of breathwork. Siobhan, who's inside this.
Tagged her.
Oh, great. She runs the Breathwork Shed in Melbourne. She's really good at leading you through a breathwork session that's going to be really safe and really healing for you to do.
I know she has different ones. I saw she had one on self-love, one on anxiety, and so I'm sure she might have a trauma one, which would be really good to look into as well.
But what it does is it starts to trigger the hypothalamus inside the brain and different organs around the body that you may have visualizations. Your body may cramp up in doing all this weird stuff. You might just uncontrollably cry. The first time I did breath work, I cried like a little 6-year-old girl. And I wasn't sad as such, but it was my body just releasing all of this emotion that I had suppressed for the majority of my life.
Mary said, love breathwork, changed my bedtime routine to include some sleep-specific techniques, and she falls asleep much faster.
Great.
Awesome.